Hi, good evening to all. Today's topic is all about variance analysis. It is an important topic of managerial accounting. We will look at the meaning of variance analysis first. This analysis is usually done for the to find out the difference between actual cost and the standard cost. When the actual cost is less than the standard cost, then the variance is called a favorable variance. The actual cost is greater than the standard cost, then the variance is called unfavorable variance. It should mention after the finding the variance whether it is a favorable variance or an unfavorable variance. We need to indicate that one. Next is the classifications. Under classification, the first variance is material variance. Under material variance, we have first the material cost variance. Material cost variance equal to the standard cost minus the actual cost. Or otherwise, we can denote by the SQ into SP minus the AQ into AP. SQ denotes for standard quantity and the SP denotes for the standard price, and the AQ for the actual quantity and the AP for the actual price. Next is material price variance. Material price variance equal to AQ into SP minus AP, actual quantity into standard price minus the actual price. Next is the material usage variance. Sometimes it is also called as the material quantity variance. To find out the material usage variance, we can use the formula as the standard price into standard quantity minus actual quantity. Next is material mix variance. To find out the material mix variance, now we have to use the formula as the standard price into revised the standard quantity minus actual quantity. To find out the revised the standard quantity, we have the formula as the total of actual mix divided by total of standard mix into the standard quantity. Next is material yield variance. To find out the material yield variance, we can use the formula as the standard material cost per unit of output into the actual yield variance yield minus the standard yield. After that, we can verify these formulas through this equation, through the following equation. The first one is the material cost variance equal to material price variance plus material quantity variance or the material usage variance. Next, material usage variance equal to material mix variance plus material yield variance. After finding the variance, we can get two kind of variance. One is favorable variance, and the negative variance, it's also called as adverse variance. Then moving forward to labor variances. Labor variances are as follows. The first one is labor cost variance. It is similar to material variance. We need to replace the price into time, price into rate, and the quantity into time. That's it. To find out labor cost variance, we have the formulas the SC minus the AC, standard cost minus the actual cost. It is also denoted by the ST into the SR, standard the time into standard rate minus actual time into actual rate. Labor rate variance equal to actual time into the standard rate minus the actual rate. Labor efficiency variance equal to standard rate into the standard time minus the actual time. Next is labor mix variance equal to the standard rate into revised standard time minus the actual time. Revised standard time, we have formula total of actual mix divided by total of the standard mix into standard time. Next is labor yield variance. Labor yield variance na we got the formula as na standard labor cost per unit of output into actual yield minus the standard yield. After that we can verify the formula through this equation. One more variance is the labor idle time variance. For the finding the ideal time variance, we have to now use this formula as the S na standard rate into the abnormal idle time. So verification equation are the are as following. Labor the cost variance the equal to the labor rate variance plus labor the efficiency variance. Labor efficiency variance equal to labor mix variance plus labor yield variance. Next the next the type of variances the overhead variances. It has two types now. First one is variable overhead variances. The next one is fixed overhead variances. First we can look at variable overhead variances. Under this head we can get three variances. The first one is variable overhead cost variance. To find out this we can use the formula as the actual output into the standard variable overhead rate per unit minus actual overhead incurred. Second is variable overhead expenditure variance. To find out this we can use the formula as actual hours worked into standard variable overhead rate per hour minus actual overhead incurred. Next is variable overhead efficiency variance. To find out this we can use the formula as the standard time for actual output into the standard variable overhead rate per hour minus actual hours worked into the standard variable overhead rate per hour. Then moving forward to the fixed overhead variances. It has 5 types. The first one is the fixed overhead cost variance. To find out this we can use the formula as the actual output into the standard the fixed overhead rate per unit minus actual overhead incurred. The second type is the fixed overhead expenditure variance. To find out this we have use this formula as the budgeted overhead minus actual overhead. That is the fixed overhead volume variance. To find out this we can use the formula as the actual output into standard rate minus the budgeted overhead. Next is the fixed overhead capacity variance. To find out this variance we can use the formula as the standard fixed overhead rate per hour into actual hours minus budgeted hours. Then the last one is the fixed overhead efficiency variance. It is similar to the fixed variable overhead efficiency variance. For that we have used the formula as the standard the fixed overhead rate per hour into standard the time for actual output minus the actual hours. Then we need to verify after finding out the variances through these equations. The first equation is variable overhead cost variance equal to variable overhead expenditure variance plus variable overhead efficiency variance. Fixed overhead cost variance equal to fixed overhead expenditure variance plus fixed overhead volume variance. Fixed overhead volume variance equal to fixed overhead capacity variance plus fixed overhead efficiency variance. Through this equation we can check it out our problem is right or wrong, whether our problem is right or wrong. Next moving forward to sales variances. It has two types. The first one is sales margin method. Under this head we can get three variances. The first one is the total sales margin variance equal to the actual profit minus budgeted profit. The next type is the sales margin variance due to selling price. It is similar to the material price variance. Instead of the actual price, we have to replace the actual selling price as well as the standard selling price. The formula is the actual quantity into actual selling price minus standard selling price. Next type is the sales margin variance due to the value. It is also similar to the material usage variance. But here is the standard the profit per unit we got to mention into that has to multiple with the actual quantity minus the standard quantity. Next is the sales volume variances. Under this head we can get three more variances. The first one is the total sales volume variance equal to actual sales minus the standard sales. Sales price variance same as material price variance, as well as sales volume variance is similar to the material usage variance. Sales mix variance is also similar to the material mix variance. Then last we have to verify this variances through the following equation. The first total sales volume variance equal to sales price variance plus sales volume variance. Thank you. We will see you again with another session. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed. Bye.